All right, it's time.
It's time.
Ready? You guys ready?
Right.
Everybody's had lunch, ready to kind of doze off, get a little nap in before the good sessions start again. Anyway, thank you for being here. My name is John Sutcliffe, Nicholas Ponce. You probably know Ponce. I'm fairly new to Addigy. We'll introduce ourselves in a minute.
If you're familiar with Addigy. Otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise you don't know either of us.
Yeah, that's one of our questions too. Is we're going to ask you guys to help us kind of tailor the talk as we go through this too. But we're going to spend some time. We're going to tell you who we are, which we started to do, but we'll do it a little bit more as we get going. We'll tell you a little bit about Addigy, where we came from, what our architecture looks like, some of that stuff. Then we're going to go into the heart of the presentation. We're going to get into user privacy and device management and how they hopefully are a little bit complementary, but the load that puts on us as IT admins to be able to get a good experience for our customers, right? And as we go through this too, we want this to be interactive. I'm on the product management team, and part of why we're here too is we want to talk to you about what are your pain points and get your feedback on those things, so we can figure out what we need to build next. And we were also going to talk a lot about how Addigy and the Addigy community come together to help you with those pain points as we're talking through it. And we have a real life example. I think all of you have heard the Z word this week, but we're going to talk about kind of what went down with Addigy in our community and kind of the response to that. And although I don't think anything has happened yet today on Zoom, but probably will. Stay tuned, I guess. Every day it seems there's something new. Anyway, who are we? Alina right here is the one who all our logistics, just make sure that we have what we need, gets us to the right places. We couldn't do this without her supporting ourselves anyway. Yeah, she's very modest, but Ponce, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in charge of operations and security here at Addigy. I've been at Addigy for about a year and a half now, a little bit longer. Before that, I worked 8 years at Kaseya. Some of you may have heard of that company. It's essentially an RMM tool. It started off as an RMM tool, and now they branched off and bought a bunch of different companies, so it's kind of a portfolio of products. I did a whole bunch of stuff over there, ranging from operations to support to consulting and all that cool stuff. So that's a little bit about me. John?
I'd hoped to leave my name off the slide and then I could go sit down at this point. They wouldn't let me do that. Anyway, John Sutcliffe. I joined Addigy on the middle of April. I had the opportunity to be at their user conference in March, met a number of customers. I actually met Jason Detbarn, our founder, last fall and started to talk to him. And now I'm the head of the product management team, working on trying to figure out what do we build next, defining it for the development team, working with you guys to figure out what are your pain points, what do you need, what can we do better. I'm sure there's nothing we could improve. It's pretty well bulletproof. Sarcasm is part of how I live my life. But I grew up as a software developer. I started out writing code, COBOL on a mainframe. Some of you are old enough to remember mainframes, some of you aren't. I moved into the internet world, Microsoft technologies. I laughed the other day when they mentioned IIS and the controversy it created. The first code I ever wrote on the internet ran on IIS, and it was all Microsoft. I was living the dream. Who knew, right? Anyway, somehow landed in management. I did spend about 6 years at another device management firm who has a table a couple down from ours, starts with a J. And actually, the funny thing is a number of those people are still good friends of mine. I'm based in Minneapolis. The rest of the folks are in Miami. So we're frenemies, I guess you could say. So I've been there. I spent 2 years before Addigy. I actually went and built software for sales teams. Not nearly as exciting because, again, I miss the Apple community because, again, building products for you guys, you really care about your customer that you're trying to take care of. And you also care about the products you're trying to use to be able to help your customer. So our opportunity to get feedback and build something people care about is really incredible. And like the conferences and the community, Mac admins and stuff, you don't get that in a lot of other industries where people share, right? It's not a Granted, there's some competitive natures. There's some other MDM vendors you shouldn't use, but again, this community is just a great place to be, and I'm super happy to be back. Anyway, my wife gets tired of me talking about myself too.
Yeah, I'm
so.
pretty tired.
All right, thank you. Anyway. All right. Okay, so we have questions for you guys. We're going to go with hand raises for this. We are going to try to make this interactive, but I'm curious, how many of you are using a commercial device management product today versus open source? Commercial, all right. Open source products, a Monkey, Simple MDM. No device management?
We're moving our software from Monkey over to Addigy.
Okay, so the answer, all right, we have to repeat, they're in the process of moving from Monkey over to Addigy. We have this catch box for everyone to talk into, so maybe we'll set it out and we have questions to answer. Yeah, it's cool. I am not throwing it at anybody because
That's what it's made for.
I know, and it scares me to death. I see the lawsuit already. All right, well, all right, I'll throw it. Okay, anybody running on-prem software right now? On-prem, everybody's cloud-based? Wonderful. Enterprise customers in the room, or an enterprise? Yeah? Small business? Okay, and what, can I ask who you're with, or?
Me?
Yeah.
DMI.
DMI? All right.
Never heard of us.
Well,
We're about 2,000 people, about 300 max.
we're almost 2,000 people. Almost,
No.
yeah, not quite. EDU, I know we've got EDU. And then MSPs. All right, MSP, wonderful. So anybody, I'm going to change this a little. Anybody not using MDM right now? Everybody's already on board that? It's a little bit surprising. We still have, there's still people out there who haven't come over onto the MDM bandwagon yet, and it's problematic as we're moving forward. So we wanted to get that out there. Addigy customers in the room. Okay, not yet. All right. Have you done a trial of Addigy?
I've never even heard of it until today.
Oh, all
Awesome.
right. Well, are you in the AirPod drawing?
I don't know.
All right. Well,
That sounds
we'll
like
make
a no.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
all
awesome.
right. Because we've got the Yeti mugs too.
Yeah, we have some Yeti tumblers out.
Cool. Cool. Good. All right. So we're just going to talk to him. The rest of you.
I didn't know about these AirPods.
Well. All right. Stop by the booth. And we'll get you connected. Anyway, how many of you have started to do testing with Catalina or iOS 13? All right. When we get to the end of the presentation, we're going to talk about how you can get into our beta program for that as well. We'll talk about that, and we also have some upcoming features we're going to get into also. So,
Before you go, how many people have tried Catalina with Addigy?
oh, good question.
No. We have. I'll spare you the details for right now.
There are a couple things that have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you get, as some of you have seen with Catalina running, there are some changes in there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. There's.
It depends on your perspective of happiness.
The thing I'll say about Catalina, iOS 13, and again, I had a break from the Apple summer of the new OSs for a couple of years, so I'm refreshed and relaxed. But the one thing I'll say is when the new OSs come out every year, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of changes. There have always been a lot of changes. And the thing, it's hard to evaluate the betas at this point. Apple is wonderful with what they do with the betas. They actually get them to us early, and they are a little bit rough. But they respond very quickly to the changes and things. So again, evaluating where it's at right now, probably not fair, except for the new features that are coming with it, which are kind of what we're going to dig into today, are really good things. And Apple executes on this stuff very well. By the time we get to September, things should be in pretty good shape. So hedge my bets. There we go. There we go. And the other thing, why are you here today? What brought you into this room today? Besides you're an Addigy customer and you want to hear what we have to say, was there anything specific you're looking for out of this talk? Not really. More info. Nods of heads. Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, then we want to get things out of this today too. As we go through this, we're going to spend our time like with PPPC. We're going to talk a little bit about notarization. How many of you went to the notarization session before lunch? I was going to go deeper into notarization for this, and then it was like, it is its own topic. I was so happy that gentleman did it. That was a great talk, but there's a lot there. It deserves its own thing, and you should spend some time. I would really recommend going back and looking at his talk if you haven't. PPCC, we're also going to talk about like 32-bit versus 64-bit, and the Addigy community, how it can help you be prepared for all these kinds of things we push through. But we want to hear your pain points on that as we go. So, who is Addigy? Most of you already know. We are from Miami, except me. Founded in 2014. They were actually a part of the initial Florida International startup.
Startup FIU for Florida International University, yeah.
Currently, we're doing about 300% year-over-year growth revenue. We've got over 50 employees now, so we're this close to 2,000. And some people have not heard of us either, surprisingly. But we've got over 3,000 global companies right now. So we've got companies all around the world: Australia, South America, US, Europe, very nearly. I don't know, Africa. Have we touched South Africa or anything yet?
I don't remember Africa. I do know we're touching base in China and stuff like that. But
So anyway, we're Apple only, focused on Apple technology. We're agent-based Mac OS with MDM, and MDM on iOS devices as well. So Apple focus, that's really what we're after. So what is Addigy? SaaS-based product. We're cloud-based. It's a multi-tenant solution. So again, when we push an update out, you may have seen some. We're trying to get a little bit better in terms of telling you when updates are coming, but also trying to get things out when we finish. We want to ship, and that's a discipline you're going to see us working on over the next 6 months, 12 months to get better, get fixes out more quickly, and those kinds of things. But the beauty is we can upgrade it in a hurry. Everybody's got the upgrade. You don't have to wait across the weekend. My instance might be down, and those kinds of things. The big
Don't gloss over multi-tenant. You're the only multi-tenant.
we are the only multi-tenant, that's right. And if you go to some of the other vendors that John may have mentioned, like, multi-tenancy means you have separate, disparate systems for each single client. And for an MSP, that's almost unmanageable. So yeah, multi-tenant is what we founded our product on. Jason and several of us came from an MSP software background because it wasn't MSP focused originally, but it ended up that way. That software wasn't originally architected to be multi-tenant. It started in 2001, right? Just like many older software companies, MSP was kind of like a new thing back then, and multi-tenancy was a new thing. So when we had the chance to rebuild and focus on something we loved, which was Apple, multi-tenancy was kind of in our veins, in our blood. We wanted to make sure that we didn't have the same design problems that other vendors have. So yeah, that was very critical for us to.
It doesn't just apply to MSPs. It also applies to anybody that has multiple Apple Business Manager accounts.
You're right.
Even in a single organization.
That's right. That's a great point.
Repeat that because we didn't have the mic.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. What's your name?
Michael Skinner.
Michael said that ultimately it doesn't just apply to MSPs. Like there's another customer we're dealing with right now. It's a big customer. They have 15 business manager accounts, all for the same company. I'm like, why do you guys have 15 business manager accounts? And they're adding new business.
For us.
Yeah, they didn't even know they had that many until they started coming to us and wanting to manage all of this. So yeah, it definitely happens, especially in organizations that may not be most up to date on the Apple ecosphere and what the left arm is doing with the right arm.
For us, talking to this.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yes.
For us, it was because we acquire companies that already had Apple Business Manager accounts.
Great example. That's a great example.
Yeah, the other use case too is, I don't know if you've ever had money in your budget and you try to go get approval for some things and the approval's dragging along, you're like, to heck with it, I'm just gonna go, I'll create my account and we'll get moving on with this, and before you know it, you've got 10 Apple Business Manager accounts running in your organization because you had to get your job done. So it happens. But again, within Addigy, you're able to put all those into the same tenant, so you can manage them under a single pane of glass as opposed to go log into another system. But and actually, I'm glad you said don't gloss over it, because it was one of the things that really attracted me to Addigy when I saw that. And the other thing, though, is the way the community is baked right into the product. I think this is the other thing that multi-tenancy really helps with. And we're going to go in, we're going to give a real-life example, the Z company we mentioned. I feel so bad for those developers. The week they must be having is bad. Anyway, but we'll talk about the community. When something comes into the community, everybody's got it because we're all on the same tenant, or all in the same instance, right? So really powerful feature. So the gist of the talk, now we'll get to the meat of it. And I think this is a great quote. The first sentence alone, Apple believes privacy is a fundamental human right. And one of the reasons I love Apple products, I buy Apple products, is because I understand they're doing their best to take care of me. I mean, their reaction to Zoom this week, we're going to block it. They take care of it for us. You can, another debate if they should or shouldn't be doing that. But I love the way Apple's at protecting my privacy. They're not trying to sell my information and those kinds of things. The flip side is, as an IT administrator, the things they're doing to protect our privacy makes our job as IT administrators a little bit more difficult, right? PPPC, notarization. I want those things as a person who's got a device and I need to protect my corporate security. As an IT admin, it sure would be easier if I could just do whatever I wanted to do when I wanted to do it on my users' machines, right? So it's a challenge, but that's what we do. So, you know, as an IT administrator, you guys, like in the MSP world, I don't know if this is as big a thing, but do you have customers who they do device choice or anything along those lines? They're just Apple, so that's cool. Is anybody doing device choice with their employees? Yeah, choosing between Windows or Mac. All right, you have one, that's good. So, and again, a lot of organizations now, in terms of being able to recruit employees, employee satisfaction, they give an employee a choice when you walk in the door. You want an Apple, you want a PC, what are you comfortable with? We don't care what device you have. But those people who are coming in the door, the reason they choose an Apple device is there's a freedom with an Apple device. I can install an operating system, I can upgrade my software, I can do all these different things. It's an amazing user experience, right? And hopefully you're going to have less support calls. That's the goal at the end of the day, right? Macs take care of themselves. Well, that's what people think when we get to do our jobs, right? But again, there is, you know, it's been shown, if you go and you read the IBM stories about what they've done with the devices in their organization, the lower total cost of ownership of a Mac. You can argue that all you want, but again, it's good hardware, the software is wonderful, but there is a high expectation for our customers, our end users, that we're going to give them that same kind of an experience. And, oh, and by the way, your CIO or chief security officer says, make sure the data's secure, right? Which now you've got your feet in, I want my customers to be satisfied, happy, so they don't quit their job. I need to not get fired because my machines got broken into, I need to protect them. So how do we find the balance between these two things as IT administrators? So that's where we're going to go. It's about a balance of those things and being prepared. So we're going to kind of come at it from that standpoint. PPPC, you guys are experienced. I put together a fun little video of kind of what the experience was back in, wouldn't have been in January, that version came out. Please don't send this email, any emails. I don't know that guy. But again, it's, you know, you've got a user down the hall and they just, whatever, they grabbed Evernote, they're going to go after it, and all of a sudden it's like, what is going on my machine? I just got to get my work done. I'm going to hit OK. Okay, now I'm going to open my document because I got to get this thing put together for my CIO or whoever it is, right? So, okay, I'm going to create, whoa, my location, it needs my location. I want to create a document and I want to get going, right? So right now, our end user experience has just come off the rails. They're probably going to call the help desk and go, I'm getting all these pop-ups, I don't know what it means. 2 installs down the road, they're still getting these pop-ups, now they're just clicking OK, and the whole point of everything has come off, right? the protection that's coming into the operating system to help them is not there. So on the one side is, as an end user, I want my privacy protected. I don't want to share my location unless I choose to share my location or my contacts or whatever else. On the flip side, I want to get my job done. I got to get my programming finished or whatever else, right? And what am I going to do? And as an IT administrator, I'd really rather not have to have my users call me anytime they try to open a piece of software and it prompts them for sharing something and my users don't know what's going on. So you guys have probably all been down this road already. There's several different ways to be able to tackle it. We're just going to talk about Profile Creator today. Again, I'm gonna go through this fast because you guys are experienced. You've been down this path, I'm assuming. Again, just using Profile Creator, going in and created for Evernote and Word, just the necessary profiles to be able to get those on the devices to prevent those pop-ups going forward. So that's not so exciting. You know how to go in, add a custom configuration to Addigy, choose where to deploy it. This is actually something new on the screen that has come up, so you can kind of put your own limitation.
Yeah,
Okay.
we released it Tuesday.
Yeah. That's why we like when you guys travel when we ship, then we just sneak it right into the... Right. But again, this is to be able to control where it's going to go. You know, there in certain situations, the profiles are different based on the operating system, so we're trying to give you a little better control where these things push.
Yeah, so 1 second there. So to add on to that, so like part of the decision around putting that in there was because several of our partners, before we had the actual PPPC payload built into our UI, a lot of like at the very beginning of Mojave, there was no way to differentiate like that should only go to 1014, because if it doesn't go to a 1014 device, let's say it goes to the 1013 device, it's going to install an invalid profile. When that machine goes to 1014, that profile is still there and it's invalid, and it kind of messes up the whole PPPC workflow. So we automatically added that to our PPPC payload. So if you build a PPPC payload, sorry, I'm talking fast and it's acronyms, but you build it in our UI, it's going to automatically calculate that logic for you. So it's only going to apply in 1014 and higher. But we still wanted to add that functionality for anything else you might want to use, right? So our custom profile section here allows you to build any MDM config and upload it to us. And now you can granularly control what operating system and what version of operating system it can deploy to. So I just want to talk a little bit about why we put it here and how we do the PPPC stuff as well.
And then you add it to your policy and push it out the door. So again, we won't spend a ton of time on that. But now we're going to talk about something that is coming very soon. As you can see, it's going through. This is going to be our privacy preferences policy control creator. So I've gone in, creating access for Word and Evernote. The pressure of typing when you're recording your screen is terrible. But what we're going to do is provide a common list of applications. Here I'm picking Microsoft Word, and it's going to create the profile for me. And I'm just going to be able to deploy it. So I'm not going to have to go out to...
some random spreadsheet that some community-driven people have built and trust that they put the right identifiers in there. We feel that you guys shouldn't have to do that. You guys shouldn't have to go and dig and run commands to find out these identifiers for software that you're deploying out, whether through our public catalog that was community built or that you actually built. So what this means is you don't have to go and do the research to figure out what those, version identifiers are, what the team identifier is, what the bundle ID is. It's just going to be a drop down. This isn't our dev environment. It's actually in production. We just haven't populated the. Yeah. No. It's there. We just haven't populated the list of software yet because we're still putting together all the team IDs and bundle IDs. Because it shouldn't fall on you guys to do that. We want to take that responsibility and make it easier for you guys to manage these devices, and that's kind of the whole premise of what we're trying to do here. And I'm sorry, John, for stealing.
There's.
So this means no more profile creator. That'll take care of it.
Well, you can do it in Addigy today. You just could do it in Profile Creator as well. Yeah. It's either or, but
it's just Profile Creator is what I'm familiar with and wasn't quite aware that I could do it in Addigy.
Yeah, the PPC payloads you can do in either Profile Creator or Addigy. I guess the difference here is that we're going to populate that list for you. So if you, like the way it is today, either way, probably any vendor, you have to go figure out what that team ID is and the bundle ID yourself by running like a command line or something for every app you have in your fleet that you have to whitelist. It's such a pain, right? So we hope that this makes it a lot easier for you guys going forward so that you don't have to go and do all that research to make a whitelist, right?
The other part of it is this is a great candidate for the community as well. And again, we'll go deeper into the community in a few minutes. But again, this would be a place where for any one individual to keep track of all these bundle IDs for all the software in the world is going to be impossible. But us as a community, if we work together on these things, maybe we write our own app or whatever the case may be, we can get these put into the public catalog to be able to be shared across our community as well, and then just speed all of us up. This is not quite in beta yet. We were working hard on this, and then Apple had a conference in June. So we've kind of paused this. We'll get through the new work for Catalina and iOS 13, and then we'll get back to this to hopefully get this out early in the fall. Oh, that's recorded. I said early in the fall, isn't it? Sorry, development team.
It might come out earlier.
It might, yeah. It might. So we'll see. But again, so again, this is one of those areas where we're looking for you guys for feedback as well as we look at this kind of a feature. Does this help? Will this help? I see smiles, so I'm going to take that as a yes. All right, good. All right. How's lunch working on you guys? Okay, eyes are still open. So here's another example of something that is changing in the Apple world. In Catalina, 32-bit apps are dead to all of us. The question is, have you gone through your environment and looked for 32-bit apps that are out there today? Not yet. Okay. So this is an example we're going to kind of go through how the community can come in to help. And this is that case of, okay, we've got this balance. Something's going to change. How can I be prepared for it when it does happen? So if I'm proactive in this, I get out, I go after, scan my customers' machines, what's out there. You got a bunch of 32-bit apps. They're going to stop working in 3 months or whatever, or we're going to have to block Catalina because we've got a critical app, right? So this is to be prepared, and this is where the community comes in. Those of you who are Addigy customers already, you know of a young man, Sean Maddock. He's very active in our community, writes a lot of scripts, but he put together this script, lists 32-bit applications. We're going to go into another example where we actually go through and run a script and show you the whole flow of all that in a minute. But for this one, assume I reached into the oven, opened it, and I pulled out the finished dish from the cooking show. And we've run the script, and now I've got a report from a machine of all the 32-bit apps that are on that machine. Ponce and I were looking at this the other day, and one thing popped up on here that we were both like, oh, parallelsdesktop.app. And we're like, that's frightening. We rely on that pretty heavily. Turns out, with a little bit more research, though, we were able to go in and take a look, and the app is actually 64-bit. There are some pieces down in it that will probably get upgraded fairly quickly, so it's not too big of a deal for us. But we're ahead of the game. We're prepared for what may be coming. We can answer that question. You know, the other thing is to look is maybe somebody in accounting has got some funky app that your company can only get its numbers published on, that's 32-bit, and they call you at the end of September and they go, I installed Catalina and the SEC's calling me because we can't publish our numbers. What do I do? And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, I have this 32-bit app, which they won't know. But again, so leveraging the community, 32-bit apps, run the scan, you can take a look at it, and now you're ready for, as Apple is working to protect us, modernize their operating systems and those kinds of things, you're ahead of the game to be able to take care of your customers. So let me stop right there. Is this kind of resonating at this point? Kind of where you're at? Does this make sense? Good.
From the Addigy users, how often are you guys using the community? Just a lot? Is it something that you guys...
I go there weekly.
Weekly?
To check out if there's something I can use.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Wish I could do that more often.
Wish you could do what? Oh, you could do it more often. Yeah, I mean, for those that aren't familiar with the community, we only launched this specific community facts and scripts piece of it in March, at end of March, or beginning of March, right before our partner summit. So it's been around for 4 months now. We had a lot of this stuff just baked into the product, but we wanted to make it a more communal environment where other people can submit and review, and there's a proper process before it gets approved and available to you guys. So like if you guys have any feedback on it, we're really looking towards to see what like we can improve in the community and add, and and I think John might talk about like what other functionality we can do in there right now.
Notarization. You always have to have one really dense slide in every presentation. So notarization is it's probably the best place to do that because there's so much in here. This is so important. It's going to change our lives. I'm going to actually, you don't need to read that. I just learned, or I just realized what a great idea it is to use this code. This is actually linked to when I was studying notarization stuff. This is just my Google search. And all the developer documents from Apple, what is notarization, how do you troubleshoot notarization and whatnot, come up in this list right here. It really is worth going and spending some time with the utilities they've got to be able to play with it to kind of get your head wrapped around it. When Catalina ships, probably before that, we will be making sure all of our things are properly notarized so you're ready to go out of the gate. I'm going to talk about what we'll be doing for Catalina betas when we get to the end of the conversation. I won't go into it right now, but I would spend some time on it. Oh, my editor missed notarization as well. You should always debug in public your presentation because then it stands out how badly you've typed.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I hadn't either the 10 times I went past the slide, so there you are. Okay, so Addigy community and how it helps. This is a real world example this week, which again, as I always ask Ponce how long I can keep playing the new guy card, and he keeps saying, you can't play it at all, but I'm going to play the new guy card again because this was something that really sunk into me, the importance of the community. We had a gentleman stop by the table yesterday talking about, he goes, we don't know anything about Zoom. We don't deploy Zoom. We're not a Zoom customer, and I'm sure I've got Zoom on 70% of my fleet, right? Because how many of us have been to a meeting, it's Zoom, it's WebEx, it's right? And you're like, wait, I haven't installed this software, but I'm impacted. Anyway, you know, this thing, it pops up on Monday, the timeline. 0-day vulnerability announced. At the same time, at 2 p.m. in Miami, these two arrived at the airport. That's important for the story because how the whole community went on. Tuesday, July 9th, they're now in Atlanta. Almost ready to get to Philadelphia to be able to get to College Station at 2 p.m. But as all this is going on, Tuesday morning, our community submits a script to be able to go out, look for Zoom on the fleet, and clean that out of there, get that mess cleaned up. The way community facts, community scripts work, the community submits things and we vet them. There was actually a little bit of a back and forth. Ponce was going back and forth with the customer, what about this, what about that? We started to put together a blog post as well to be able to get out there, and by early afternoon, we had the script published. We had the blog post out there, so our customers could, if they wanted to, grab that script and at least go and evaluate our fleet to say, are we impacted by this? And who wasn't impacted by it? I don't know. But the other thing that's really interesting as well is, you know, when you come to these conferences and travel, it's like, what day of the week is it? It's Thursday, so it was Wednesday yesterday. We were sitting at the table. I can't remember. Somebody walked up and they're like, okay, we're talking about it, and we pointed out the script, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. They came back after a session and said, yeah, I went and deployed that script across my fleet. I got it run while I was in the session. I'm done. This is great. Thanks. And you're like, that's the power of the community. So we're going to give you a quick demo of it. But again, this is when you go into our community, into scripts, you can see right here the patch Zoom vulnerability. It went right to number 1 on our list. top 40.
We're hiring Sean Maddock.
Yeah, right.
I'm just
Yeah, yeah. The question: when are we hiring Sean? Yeah, he may already work with. I don't know. I haven't bumped into him yet, but anyway. So this is it running. You go in, you look at the script, you copy it so you can use it. You're going to go to your list of devices. This could be all the devices in your environment. It could be a subset of devices, whatever you would like to do. Choose the ones you want to run it on. Fire it off. Boom, done. And this is going to run and run and run. It's a gift. Yeah. But the blog post is related to this is right there.
That's a nice overlay right there.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that overlay.
The guy who did these slides, I told him you should hide the bulleted list when you bring that up, but he didn't listen. But this is a blog post that lays out the steps to be able to get there. But again, this is in a short period of time, because of a larger group of people, we respond very quickly together, right? Any one vendor can only do so much for you, unless you have $30 billion in the bank. But even at that, it's all of us together can do a lot more than any one of us individually, and that's the power of the community. You go back to the multi-tenant solution that kind of leads to that, and SaaS, and we're in this together, and that's what we're here for, to be able to empower to make happen.
Yeah, so, internally we don't use Zoom. I hate Zoom. I used it at a previous company. Just for that same reason, I accidentally...
we're recording.
I accidentally, in the very beginning when it first rolled out, the company thought it was super cheap, it's great. We launched a session with somebody, and lo and behold, he was in his underwear sharing his webcam, because by default, it doesn't, at the time, it was you had to opt out of the camera enablement. And a lot of people still have that setting there. So we don't use Zoom internally, but I know a lot of our sales team, a lot of our employees hop on Zoom calls. And we don't block it, but you know what? I'm not going to upgrade or install Zoom on my entire fleet to mitigate this vulnerability. We just ran the script on all our fleet because, one, I don't want Zoom there in the first place, and if we are, we're going to remove it. And they can go ahead and download the next time the latest version with the patch. But, reading through the vulnerability, if they had the older version and they clicked the link, it would just reinstall. And I went back and forth with some of the community members that actually have Zoom to see if that would install the latest version with the vulnerability fix or not. And there was a lot of debate about it. So, just to kind of mitigate all risk, we just ran the script against the entire fleet just to kind of get it out of the way. So that was kind of our internal story about how we manage Zoom, because a lot of people were just like, just go ahead and deploy the latest update. Well, what happens if you don't use Zoom? I don't want to deploy that to my entire fleet. How do I know who has Zoom and who doesn't have Zoom and what version they're on? And piecing all that together, the script just disables the components that had the vulnerability. We also, Apple pushed a silent update last night. I don't know if you guys heard about that for Zoom through MRT. It took, sorry.
No, go on. Yeah.
So here it is right here. This is actually from a Linus machine. She got it, she got it 9:40 a.m. today, the latest version of the malware removal tool. John and I don't have that. And this was a silent auto upgrade. And I've been trying to determine, how do you force an auto update of a silent auto update that we have no control over? We're on 1.4.2 from over a month ago.
Parse that sentence. It's like, wow, yeah. Anyway.
So, all of the whole vulnerability and process kind of just led us to believe that the script is still probably the right thing to do right now if you're not managing Zoom. And if you are managing Zoom, you can just deploy the latest version out through Addigy. So that was kind of our synopsis of it. We're going to update our blog post. We put something in our MacAdmins Addigy channel. So if you're not in our Addigy channel, it's super active. A lot of us are in there. You get to talk to us directly. A lot of good stuff. Sean Maddock is there. He's pretty much there all the time. And a lot of really good people that, contribute to the community quite often.
Well, the other key point too is that we're mobile device management experts. We're good at building software to manage devices. However, there's software we don't use internally, So for us to become an expert in Zoom or whatever else when a vulnerability pops up is very difficult, right? But again, for us on the inside, being able to help leverage a community where we've got some customers who are Zoom customers who are very versed in it, we can have that conversation with them, go back and forth. What is the right way to fix it? We can bring our side of how the product works to the conversation. They can come to us and talk to us about, here's what we know about the product, here's what we're getting, and then we can work together to help everybody do it. So the community side is so important for us because it effectively, well, we have 3,000 customers, we have 3,000x ability to be able to learn about something that we potentially don't have in-house to be able to experiment with as quickly as we need to. So it's awesome. Yeah, but it's weird. It's like they trust Alina with updates, but they don't trust us with updates. So we'll talk to Apple.
I'll be curious to see if you guys pulled up your system information and looked at your applications section. You have 145?
You got it?
I got it by 2 o'clock.
You got it 2 o'clock?
Oh,
So
all right. We'll check.
you
when
got it
when we're
11 minutes
done, we'll
ago.
look. Yeah.
You got 11 minutes ago then.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, all right. When
I'll
we're
check in 10 minutes from
we'll
now.
check. Yeah, yeah. All right. So coming soon. In product management, one of the first things I'll say is everything that we say is coming soon is subject to change. And it really is hard to predict when things are going to ship, except with Apple. They are good. We know near the end of September, Catalina and iOS are going to drop, and we are going to be there ready to support those things out of the gate. So you're ready. I do know Andrew already put out there the necessary things.
Catalina blocker?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many of you guys use the Catalina blocker right now on your fleet? Nobody? Not blocking Catalina blocker beta?
No,
Yeah.
not yet.
Okay. Yeah, we have, as always, you know, we put out the blockers because we want to give you guys the time to get ready for the upgrade. You know, if you're not ready because of the 64-bit app scenario, that is a mechanism to do that. But more so, the beta support that I think John is talking about here is the new functionality and features and making sure our application is going to work, you know, fully functional on Catalina. And I would say now more so than ever, Apple and Addigy are working quite extensively together to, you know, be a 0 day, if not negative day.
Yeah. So here, our plan for Catalina and iOS 13 is, first of all, Catalina and iOS 13, when you get into the details, is still under NDA. You need to be in the developer program to be able to get access to them, or there's also the seed program that you can get into now. Apple's beta programs are fantastic, and with the seed program, it's gotten even better. But there is still the NDA conditions you can't talk about unless it was in a public presentation. So what we're doing is we are, again, one of the beauties of our multi-tenant solution is that we are right now working on some of the new capabilities that have been announced for Catalina and iOS 13, and we're going to be shipping those into production as we approach 0 day. We should start to see the beginning of that near July, but those are all going to be behind what we call a feature flag. You're going to have to reach out to us and say, hey, we're in the Catalina beta program, and when we get verification of that, then we will turn on those Catalina and iOS 13 features so you can begin to test them as we approach it. We're not going to have 100% Catalina ready to go at the end of July or the middle of August, but we'll be as close to that as we can by September. But we want to enable you to begin testing as soon as you want to begin testing behind it. So we will have more information about how you can sign up for that fairly shortly here. I would expect that by the end of the month. You can enroll a Catalina device today and an iOS 13 device. Your results will vary. There are things that we know don't work. But if you start to experiment with it, don't hesitate to report what you're seeing. We want that information. And during this time as well, Apple is super responsive to if you file radars or bug reports on things you're finding in the new operating systems. They are all over that. They want that feedback and they want it done. So you report it to us. Maybe it's us. Maybe there's something Catalina that needs to be fixed, and we'll report that to them. So pretty powerful. Day 0 support, we talked about notarization. We're gonna have the product into place for you guys on day 0 when that drops. If people want Catalina and iOS 13, we're gonna be there for you and make sure you can do that. Or if you're not quite ready, pause it until you are ready to be prepared for that to roll out. So Addigy Identity Beta is, have any of you heard about Addigy Identity yet? How would you,
Have anybody used their Nomad integration?
I've used the client on the inside, and I did try the Nomad login.
Our Nomad login integration, or like
Yeah.
the standalone Nomad login?
Well, we use the standard Nomad on
Okay.
the back end, or inside the desktop. But I tried the beta of the Nomad login, and I couldn't get beyond the term screen. It just wanted to pop up.
So, Craig didn't have the microphone, so I'll just clarify. So, Craig tried to use the Nomad login integration, and he got stuck at the login window. Pretty much sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the concept of the application is to give a single sign-on type of feeling for your devices that pulls from some identity provider. There was a session, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was from France, and he talked about identity management, setting up identity management in an automated fashion. This is essentially the mechanism we have built, and it's going to be rolling out soon, as John's going to talk about, to integrate with several different IDPs, identity providers. So the first one we're rolling out is Okta. So if you use Okta as an identity provider, you'll be able to tie from the Okta IDP, you can pull those creds down to your local device on initial DEP enrollment. So that way the user has their AD or Okta or Azure or Google CICP credentials on provisioning into the device. They don't have to set up anything else. They're not creating independent accounts with random usernames and passwords. It locks them into that window. They have to enter those creds that they were assigned via email or via Okta or via Azure or whatever the case might be. So it's also going to give us a few more functionalities like password resets, password syncs. So it's not a true AD binding. Nomad, for those who aren't familiar with it, stands for No More Active Directory. It's essentially, it's kind of this same functionality where it pulls your credentials from AD without you actually binding to AD. And that way the users can log in with the same username and password, and it feels like that same AD experience you have on Windows without all the limitations of being binded to an AD and having a mobile account and all that.
okay, so.
Question.
Yes.
When is available?
Beta will be starting probably at the end of the month. We're testing it right now. We will be doing an announcement, I would hope in the next 2 weeks, when you'll be able to enroll the beta. Okta is first. Azure may drop at the same time, and if it doesn't, it will be within a week or two of when Okta ships. Following on that, we've got Google CICP and
I think that we're going to do Jump Cloud.
Jump Cloud.
I think
yeah.
Jump Cloud was the
Jump
last one.
Cloud. Yep. So those are the ones. And if there are other ones out there you're interested in, let us know. And we'll see about getting those on the roadmap. But
Yeah, out of curiosity, what do you guys use for your IDPs? Your identity provider or a security? Jump Cloud?
Most of our customers use AD.
AD. Okay. So, I mean, right now we have Nomad for AD, local AD. I don't see us working on AD because I think Windows even said they're deprecating local Active Directory. So, I don't know how long that's going to take, but that's their plan. Realistically, it's probably going to take a long time. Windows XP is still out there. But like Google CICP allows you to pull from your G Suite. So if you're a Google customer, or your customers are Google customers, or maybe an acquisition uses G Suite or something like that, allow you to pull your G Suite credentials in and make those the creds to log into the device. And if those creds don't match or the password was changed, the account was locked out, it makes it much easier to manage that login experience.
And I think I just read yesterday, or heard yesterday maybe, that if you have Office 365, you've already got Azure.
That's correct. That's correct. Office.
Or not.
Whether you know it or not. Yeah, people ask me that all the
can
time.
you repeat?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So the rumor was that if you have Office 365, whether you know it or not, you actually have Azure AD. Because the way Office 365 is structured is when you sign up for an account, behind the scenes it's creating you an Azure AD environment, and that's how your users are provisioned. So you go ahead and sign up for an Azure environment and go into the Active Directory section, and you will see those users from Office 365 over there. You know, whether I like it or not, some people refused to get off Microsoft Office products within the company. So there's a handful of licenses, and that's kind of how I found that out myself, and how we've been testing both Azure AD and some Office 365 credentials and stuff like that.
All right, and probably the best slide of all. Thank you. and how can we help? So yeah, we want to open the floor up for questions. We can talk about, we can go in and demo some things. We can go take a quick peek and see if I got the update as well. Are there questions you guys would like answered while you're here? We can pass it. We can throw the catch box. It's designed to be thrown. I've heard. Hold on to your coffee. I remember that in open they said, secure your drinks, then throw the box. There is a procedure.
I want to show them something if I can.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any questions we can answer?
You're gonna need.
Yeah,
to,
and I don't want
okay.
to show this yet. Gotta make it. Gotta build up the anticipation.
All right. Oh, you're gonna.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we've been debating about when we're going to release this. It's going to be very, very soon. Not this week, but most likely next week. We changed some of the functionality. I know you guys that use the product, we've seen the UI enhancements. They're just going to keep coming. We're working on making it a lot more intuitive to use the product, a lot easier. Here's what we're planning on shipping for our new devices page. So our add devices page, you kind of have that no policy and then a whole bunch of policy trees. So now you're going to actually have a policy drop down, and if you select it, you're going to have MDM as the first option. You're going to have install with package and install with terminal. And as John was showing earlier, I think a lot of people like this mechanism where you can actually send the QR code now to install an MDM profile. So I don't know if you guys like typing on your iPhones, that type of stuff, but you can now just hold up the camera, scan it, and your iOS device will, or whatever type of device will enroll in there. We wanted to make a pretty QR code and stuff, but we're gonna just release it like that, and you can actually send it to your email, and then send it to customers' emails or your employees' emails or your students' emails, stuff like that. So it's also going to highlight that you can install our agent on Mojave, but it's not the recommended method going forward, right? Because of all these PPPC prompts that John was talking about, when you install, how many people have installed our agent without MDM? And you got PPPC prompts that don't necessarily mean that. That's my biggest gripe, I would say, with the PPPC prompts. It's not intuitive as to what this is doing. Like a lot of the messaging is Evernote was pretty clear, but a lot of the messaging was it wants access to my contacts. For what? It wants access to my location. For what? Tell me what it wants to do and why. So when this shipped in Mojave, it was even the details were even why is this happening? And you had to research what it was, and then you figured out you can only whitelist it via MDM, and then at that point, you're like, oh, now I need an MDM solution and stuff like that. So you still can use our agent, install our agent, and you can still run our terminal command. So that's kind of one of the many changes we got coming. If you don't have MDM set up, that won't show there now. So it makes it a lot more intuitive. You'll know when MDM's not set up. That's just a few things. We're also just to kind of give you guys a peek at some of the other UI changes. We're revamping all the pages to kind of have the same look and feel. This is going to be our new integrations page. And I don't see Addigy. Oh, there it is, Addigy identity right there. So again, things we're testing, things we're planning on shipping very, very soon. If you guys know us, we release quick. We work fast. That's just in our nature. We don't sleep very often. So we are adding more integrations. I don't know if they're in here yet, but so it's something that we're gonna keep iterating over, especially on the UI. I know some of you guys came to our partner summit in March and met some of the developers and the new UI team we have, and they're constantly working on this stuff and trying to make it better, and it's going to get better, and it looks and will feel a lot better and a lot more intuitive.
The other thing we're really working on too is, like, for instance, the add devices page. What we're going to do is a little bit ahead of when we ship that, we're going to get a recording out there of the new look and feel. So you don't come in on Tuesday morning and go, my UI is different. To try to get a little bit ahead of the curve. I know sometimes we've surprised people with a release, I think is fair to say. But we're going to try to do a lot better with that. The other thing too is coming back to the feature flag I mentioned earlier, like where we can beta test things to get people in, start to get feedback, and turn features on more gradually, so it just doesn't appear for everyone.
So talking about releases, we do have a status page. If you guys aren't familiar with it, you can subscribe to it. Has an RSS feed, text messaging, email. It'll tell you when we have maintenance coming, what those items in the maintenance are. So you can see July 10th we did a maintenance, and July 9th we did a maintenance deployment, and they have the exact card numbers. Going back to our community aspect, we try to be as transparent as possible with you guys, because we know how critical this system is for you. And what that means is all those JIRA card numbers, they're explicitly searchable in our solutions page and our support issues page. So you can actually look in our support issues page and find these items here. I don't know too many vendors that show their feature requests and bugs to all their customers. Usually it's hidden in some secret website or something like that, and you can come and upvote them if you like. This is a dev environment, so ignore the nonsense, but you can see them ahead of time, you can plan for them. We publish this to our status page ahead of time, and then after they're released, you can actually go to our releases page here. And it will show you everything we released, and you can actually click inside and get the exact details. So both of these properties were launched right before our partner summit in March, and we've been heavily leveraging them. So we want to be as clear as possible, make sure you guys get as much information as possible, real time, and even before it happens, so you can be prepared. One of the beauties is that, we don't need to go down to do an update or a maintenance. I don't know if many of you seen, but usually the only time we go down is when Google Cloud goes down or Amazon Web Services, and even then it's built on microservices, so just a component will go down and not our whole interface or something like that. So that's one of the beauties of our deployments, and that's what allows us to kind of release so quickly without disturbing you guys. Like, you won't be down. All of a sudden you'll just see a new feature and new functionality, which tends to be very good for us and very good for you guys. Just if you guys haven't seen it, we actually expanded some of our support sections. So there's a getting started section. We broke down the solutions section. So this pulls from our KB articles online. You can actually search here. So if you want to build a text whitelist, you can actually search for it. It'll give you an article on how to do it, step-by-step guide, this community-driven spreadsheet that I'm not sure where Andrew found that, and how to deploy it. So a lot of the new functionality is coming, but we've been rolling this out, and you guys are seeing it like as soon as it's ready. So we hope it's going to be very beneficial to you guys, and we want to expand on the community aspect of it. Any questions?
I have some, but I'd rather speak in private.
Sure.
All right.
Under the issues.
Hang on one second. You want to?
Under the issues section, on the features and bugs,
Yeah.
would there be a way to make that so they are clickable, that we could go to the detail?
That's a great request. We could do something like that. I think that's on ours. That's our fault right now, because there's a description field we just don't fill out, and we only fill that description field out once we release it. Okay. So I think as a team, we need to get better at like publicly documenting what that is and what that really means. Because I understand, Craig, because you look at a title and you may be like, I don't know if this is exactly what I'm talking about or not.
Well,
so,
I look at it and I think, I want to click on that. It's not doing anything.
we have a few other places too where there's some things that could be clicked on that don't work that way either yet. But
yeah, that page is also coming it's getting a new UI look very, very soon as well. Okay. So I'll take a look at how that looks. It's not there yet, as you can see, but
Yeah.
I'll take a look and see if it becomes clickable or if it makes it more intuitive that it's not clickable.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. Do we want to do
Oh,
our
yeah.
drawing?
Oh.
Yeah, let's do the drawing.
We have 2 Yeti cups, and then I put the names in here, and then the raffle, they gave me Bruno and Michael, so raise your hand.
These are pretty good odds.
Yeah.
Bruno, Michael, and Bruno. And then
That-
everybody else, we'll put you in the raffle for the AirPods, and then we'll figure that out tonight, and then we'll get in touch with you, and if you win, we'll ship it to you.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to ask any more questions in private,
Yeah,
feel free
we'll-
to hang around. We'll be in here and answer any question